तो ज्वाइन तो कर लेते हैं, अभी तो 5 मिनट ऊपर नहीं मारा, मैसेज करूँ।
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Very good morning, sir.
How are you?
Fine, fine. Good morning, Bharatji.
Welcome, sir. Bharat, we already have about 200 people. थोड़ा वेट कर लें.
Yes, sir. Sir, around 193. So we can give 5 minutes, like the participant will join.
Yes, sir.
Vinod
विनोद सर, हम
Vinod
5
sir.
मिनट वेट कर लेते हैं, so that 300 के आसपास हो जाए.
Yes, yes.
टोटल रजिस्टर्ड पार्टिसिपेंट सर अभी 727 है, 725 के आसपास.
Great, great. We
Yesterday
can wait
was-
for some time.
थोड़ा सा वेट कर लें.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
शैलेश, डॉक्टर शैलेश,
सर।
विनोद सर को प्रेजेंटर बना देते हैं.
हाँ.
थैंक यू. Dr. Bharat.
Yes, sir.
अभी 300 से ऊपर हो गए पार्टिसिपेंट्स सर, परमिट करें तो कैन स्टार्ट।
Yes, yes, yes.
थैंक यू।
Vinod, sir.
Yes, yes.
So it's around like 300 plus participants are there. So if you allow, so we can start with the permission.
As you wish. I'm already here. No problem.
Okay. So give me just 2 minutes. So let me introduce you in front of our audience. Yes. Very good morning to all of you.
Bharat, make your video on.
Okay. Some bandwidth issue. It is okay. Now I'm visible. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Bharat, please go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good morning to all of you. I would like to welcome you, all of you, on the second day of this program, Digital Tool for Writing, Authoring and Reviewing Manuscript. First, I would like to welcome our esteemed speaker, Professor Vinod Mishra, the CI of MNIT Jaipur, Professor Viren Salwa, and the other CIs of the ENICT academies here, and all the participants that who have joined, and this process is right now going on. So I'm very happy and delighted to introduce Professor Vinod Mishra. Professor Vinod Mishra is a professor of English at IIT Roorkee, a PhD in English on the work of Mulk Raj Anand, has served as a faculty in various reputed institutions and contributed academically in many national and international journals and conferences. Professor Mishra started his career from Rangachi College, Majoli in Assam. He worked at BITS Pilani, Rajasthan for more than 6 years before switching over to IIT Roorkee in 2007. He has published more than 21 books on various aspects of English language and literature. One of his book, entitled Communication Skill for Engineers and Scientists, is used as a textbook and reference book in many reputed colleges and universities. He has also 2 poetry collections, namely Salient Steps and Other Poems and Multiple Waves to his credit. He has guided 9 PhD and presently 12 are working under his supervision. Besides books, Dr. Mishra has published more than 100 research papers, 76 poems and 21 books review in esteemed journals. He has conducted 10 workshops, conferences, and presented papers in at least 50 conferences in national and international reputes. Besides that, he has delivered more than 70 talks in various conferences, workshops, and FDPs. And he is also attached with us from the last 2 years with the NICT Academy. His NPTEL courses on soft skill is being rerun consecutively for the 4th time, and he has offered more than NPTEL courses entitled Effective Writings. Last year, he conducted 2 TechU workshops at IIT Roorkee. He is a life member of several several literary associations. Dr. Mishra is on the editorial advisory board of several journals, POS member for several universities. He has also served in editor-in-chief of Indian Journal of English Studies for 6 years. IGES is one of the oldest journal of English language and literature. Presently, he is serving as vice chairman of Association for English Studies in India. Dr. Mishra has been recipient of several prestigious awards, namely AIMS International Distinguished Service Awards 2008, AIMS International Outstanding Editor Award in 2009, and Excellence in World Poetry Award in 5th January 2010 by International Poet Academy, Chennai, India. So with this small introduction, I would like to call Professor Mishra to start his talk. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you,
Welcome.
Professor Bharat.
Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Professor Sahula, and all the other dignified members of AICT Academy who have been giving me chances one after another. And I'm really glad that this is one platform where I'm being able to interact with hundreds and thousands of people. Of course, they are doing a yeoman service to the society by bringing them on one platform and training them from different by inviting different experts from different areas and making the world a reality in this virtual age of today. My dear friends, the talk that I'm going to deliver, I'd rather call it a discussion, not a talk, because the title of the FDP is Digital Tools for Writing, Authoring, and Reviewing Manuscripts. Of course, I'm a man of humanities, especially English. And then some of them say that I'm not audible. Let me ensure that I'm audible and visible as well.
Yes, sir, you are audible as well as visible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
So the talk today that I'm going to share with you, my dear friends, is reports. How actually, because in this age of today, whenever we try to bring something new, what actually materializes is in the form of reports. Whatever you write, my dear friend, is a report. But then many of us, when it comes to writing reports, we actually feel very shaky. We feel very shaky. So today, in this lecture of 1 hour, I'll try my level best to touch upon various important areas where many of our participants might be feeling shaky, hesitating. And then I'll also give certain tips as to how we can make reports effective, successful. What are the various strategies? Of course, delivering on reports requires so many hours, but I'll try my level best to give you or to provide you a sort of glimpse into the world of report writing, because we are in an age where virtual platforms are working for us. And in this virtual platform, we should try to make much utilization of time. My dear friends, whenever some decision is taken, at times decisions are taken, and these decisions at times surprise us as well. Recently also, you might have found in different corners, in different areas, whenever some new action is going to be taken, majority of the people are surprised. But when they come to know the reality, then perhaps they will be convinced why such an action was taken. And this is because of reports. Now, most of us at times feel, what actually is a report? Where has it come from? And how can report bring changes in our lives? Before going into the nitty-gritty of report writing and the strategies, let us try to understand, what is this word report? Where has it come from? Initially, the word report has got an origin in the Latin word reporto, and then porto, that is porter. The meaning is that something which has to be carried. No, it is just like a porter. A porter carries our goods from one place to another. And in that regard, what a reportage is, it also carries our information from one place, one person to other person. So a report is a communication from someone who has information to someone who wants to use that information. My dear friends, if today all of you are attending this session today, that also might have been because of a report. These people who are behind this show might have realized, and how they might have realized, they might have realized by having a questionnaire. They might have realized by gathering information, understanding the need, understanding the exigency of the situation. And for all these years, what they have been doing, it has actually proved very successful. So for any report, what actually is needed is to understand the needs. That is why we say it is actually a communication. Now see, from 2 or 3 persons, now this communication is going to thousands and thousands of people, and they are getting benefited, my dear friend. But then we also have to understand what actually are the requirements of the report, how much should be covered in the report. On a lighter note, let me share one view of Sharing and Christian, who says that a report is just like a bathing suit. It covers everything that has to be covered, but nothing more. The moment we come to hear the word report, many of us who are not trained at writing report, then we actually get frightened as to how to do it, because report writing is a very complex, difficult process. But then if we know what has to be covered and what has to be left, then perhaps we are able to write reports, my dear friend. So in this talk of today, we shall be touching upon that area. Now, the question is, can reports be defined? When we define the report, how can we define the report? Many people say, every day we hear this report, that report, fine. We come to hear so many reports every day. But then when we talk about a report, on a lighter note, a person may say, please report to me. So when he says, please report to me, the meaning is that please tell me. Now this telling, if he says, please submit a report, then perhaps it becomes very complex, because it carries so many things. So let us try to understand because most of the reports will be written. When you say something, that is of course a report, because you are reporting, but you are reporting some piece of information. And when that piece of information has a purpose, then perhaps it becomes very essential to understand what sort of communication is a report. Of course, a report is a communication, but it is actually a formal communication. Formal communication written for a specific purpose. It includes a description of procedures followed for collection and analysis of data, their significance, the conclusions drawn from them, and recommendations if required. Now, many people might also be thinking that if something is written and this written document is called a report, then are all the books not reports? Yes, they are also reports. But then, is report writing different from other forms of writing? Yes. Say, for example, when you read a novel, that is also a report. But then nobody can tell you to write a report. Nobody can tell you to write a novel. No? But then when it is a report, you have to be told, because you never think of writing a report by yourself. There is no amount of, we say that a report is a factual description. When we say it includes a description, it is actually a factual description. And in this factual description, data or the content or the information becomes very important. And this data has to be analyzed. When something goes wrong, what is being done? A committee is set up, an inquiry is set up, and the inquiry provides the report. But before providing the report, it actually takes into account the various forms of data. It also sees to it that the data has to be factual. That is why there are various verifications by default. Now, what can be the important characteristics of a report? Because the report is written. Many of you might be in several organizations and might at times be required to write a report. Then you might be thinking how to write a report. Naturally, since we say that it is a formal document, it has actually to be written in a conventional form. A report is not a poem. A report is not a story, fine, which can begin from anywhere and which can end from anywhere. No fictive, imaginative thing here, because it is factual. And then it is written for a specific purpose. After they have done this FDP, they will also submit a report which has to be very factual. So, and it is written for a specific purpose. And based on their report, maybe when they are when they are once again given a chance, this data, the report will be interpreted before they take any decision to grant them one more year. It actually includes information about the procedure of data collection. How is the data collected? Since the report is factual and it has to rely upon the data, we have to understand that the data has to be accurate, has to be verified. But then, if the data has to be factual, what will be the procedures of the data? I'm simply delivering my talk here, but whether I'm effective or not, that will be done only when somebody takes a stock of the situation or somebody tries to understand from people. So how this data was collected, whether it was collected simply by listening, whether it was collected simply by going through the records, or it was collected by having an interview, or it was collected by having a questionnaire being floated. So there's several ways of data collection, and then based on the data, you come to give some conclusion, because after every report, some decisions are to be taken, isn't it? And these decisions actually have a larger role to play in the overall change that you find in any organization, even in any person. My dear friends, I want to share with you all that all of us should also make a report of our own achievements. Many of our friends do a self-appraisal also. What did I do this year? What I'm going to do next year? Where did I fail? If I failed, why? How I could have improved? How I could have brought certain changes in my teaching? How I could have brought certain innovative techniques in the procedures, policies, whatsoever. At every level, one has to think how he or she can improve. And then finally, when you are concluding, after concluding, you actually think of trying to understand what could have been done to make it more effective. That is why we say contains recommendations if required. Now, why do I say if required? Because not all reports can have the scope for recommendations, because there are several sorts of report that we'll find about. Now, life would not have been as easy as it is today. It is only because of the reports. Why? Why are you having this online mode of teaching? Why are you having this online mode of FDP? That also might have been the result of an investigation. That also might have been the result of an analysis. So we have to understand why reports are essential. We have passed through a very critical phase. We are still, perhaps many of us are still apprehensive also of the third wave, which is on the anvil, as many newspapers and channels say. But then what are we trying? We have learned from experiences. And how? Because of the reports. So that is why we need to understand that reports are very essential. Why are reports essential? If you are an organization, you want to make certain changes, you want to update progress, and that can help in planning. Once you come to know about a particular thing and you want to take the next step in order to update yourself, then naturally reports come into picture. It also evaluates men and materials. Earlier, there might be 3 people on a project, 4 people, 5 people. Now, when the need arises, you feel that, no, this is not adequate. We need to have more people, more material. Of course, it is only on the basis of the reports that you come to know the gaps. Reports can reveal gaps. If something goes wrong, and when you analyze it, then perhaps you find that perhaps had it been the case, had we contacted, had we communicated properly, had the data been collected properly, perhaps this would have not been possible. Now, when we are in the process of, we are amidst this pandemic, we actually try to analyze every now and then what went wrong. And when you come to interpret it or analyze it, then you know that this was the reason. And of course, it is only on the basis of the reports that more awareness is created. And after the first wave, people became more conscious. Even after the second wave, we are more conscious. How? Because there is a sort of awareness. Everyone is with a mask. We always say, from time and again, we have been said that we have to maintain the protocols. We have to maintain certain regulations as if to avoid any unpleasant situation. And based on this report, we come to our decision. And of course, one of the main ingredients of the report is to create a sort of harmony, my dear friend. All of us, why? If one person does something wrong, we try to find out and we try to identify and tell them that this is not the way we should. And that way you actually think, because report is also attached to a sort of loyalty. If you're working in an organization, you feel a sense of belonging. That is why when you're going to do something, we think about the welfare of the organization, the welfare of our people, the welfare of colleagues, peers, whatsoever. It has rightly been said that a report is a professional's only tangible product. Now, why it is said? Because behind the report, there are many other things that are associated. What are they? If presence is investigation, you try to investigate as to what went wrong, then testing, experimentation. If his efforts are to count in the judgment of superiors, he must describe clearly what he has done. He must show the significance of his work. And often the engineer's written report is his only contact with the management. No, it is, in a larger organization, it is not possible every now and then to meet the management people, but you try to prove your own existence and prove your own significance with the help of the report, because people at times feel, who had given this report? Fine. So your role also becomes very important, my dear friend. Now, based on its function, based on its type, we can divide reports. There can be n number of reports, but it's very difficult to talk about all of them. We'll rather categorize that into three. The first is informational report, interpretive report, and then the analytical reports. Actually, if you're working in an organization, you will find that the reports help you integrate, and the entire management is integrated with the help of the report. Now, people come to talk to each other, people come to write to each other, communicate to each other, and try to find out what new things are going to be planned, what new policies are going to be implemented, and what will be the offshoot of all this. So when you talk about informational report, now if we simply go to the title alone, informational report simply informs. It has got no basic purpose other than informing. It actually helps integrating the management, but then it only informs. There is no scope, no more scope here to interpret, isn't it? And that is why most of us who are attached to an organization, we see to it that we are informed. We must know what is going on in this organization. What are our policies, procedures, fine? And there are some reports which come into the category of this informational report, which are periodic report, progress, policy statements, leadership surveys, sales reports, committee minutes, fine, investigation reports, production reports, fine. This is just to inform as to where we are. And this report, most of the time, actually gives, and then it provides another opportunity for the management to decide, but before that they have to interpret. So in most of the cases, this informational report, they actually serve only for the purpose of the data, and it is factual. Facts are organized and presented to the reader to use as he sees fit or to retain as a part of his knowledge. That is why most of us are informed that this is actually our policy. But when it comes to interpretive report, then perhaps interpretive reports have become more significant in the present day world in most of the organizations, because it only tells us, fine, what went wrong and what can be done, fine. So it interprets, it analyzes. That is why it can also be called as analytical report or interpretive report. It interprets the situation, circumstances, facts, results, and then, yes, it goes one step ahead than conclusion, one step ahead of conclusions. After conclusion, you actually have, you are told that you must recommend what can be done, what can be taken. That is why when you are asked to write the report, many of us who feel very shaky, they must realize that they will also be provided some guidelines, and that guidelines, we call it TOR, that is terms of reference. In those terms of reference, they will tell you what actually the management wants you to Fine, investigate, and based on that, you will actually provide a sort of recommendation. Now we come to our real topic where we had said, because this FDP is on writing, authoring, and reviewing. And all these three are actually the basic ingredients of report as well. Now, what are the strategies involved? How should we write the report? What should we do? If we are new and we are asked, no, many people often feel in the management that a new person is more potential. Fine, he has more potential in him or her, so let him be given this chance. And majority of the organizations, they have technical writers. These technical writers are assigned the task of writing the reports. But when somebody is new and given the task of writing a report, what he or she should do, there are certain steps involved, my dear friend, and let us try to touch upon these steps in a very hurried manner so that you can get your own ideas of writing a report revised. Define your scope and purpose. Why? Why is this report to be written? What is the purpose behind writing this report? Nowadays, after this is over, then again, there'll be several committees formed as to whether we should go offline or we should continue to give lectures even online. And these committees will come up with the report. And what these committees will do, they will actually think of who are the audience. Who are the audience? If you know the purpose, who are the audience for whom this report is going to be submitted? Because the audience's reaction is very important. You have to determine your audience. In many cases, your audience may be your immediate bosses. In some cases, actually that will vary depending upon the nature of the reports that you have been given to write. And then when you determine the audience, and while you know who you are going to submit the report, because the decision is going to be taken on the basis of your report, you have to see what sort of relationship do you maintain with the audience. In certain cases, even good people, intelligent people's reports may also be sidelined or may not be given that much of attention because of the relationship. Relationship also matters at times, my dear friend. Fine. So how are you related to the boss? What is your business relationship with him? Will your suggestion be implemented? And then we come to collection of the material. Collection of the material. How will you collect the material? And when you talk about collection of the material, what I mean is data collection. How will you collect the data? There can be several ways of data collection. Maybe you can go for some informational report, and because that provides the data. Maybe you can go to some internal resources from where you can get the data. But how the data has to be authentic, that actually depends upon your knowledge of the things, and then what is going to be the outcome, what is the present condition. Fine. And then once you have collected the data or the material or the information, you are going to organize the material. An organized report actually helps the management or the bosses know things better. The information has to be systematically organized, logically organized. And when you have organized the material, because when you collect the data, you actually have a good amount of material, and all these material have to be scrutinized. When you start scrutinizing or shortlisting, or better say, trying to find out what is worth in this report, what is worth usable, what is worth leaving, then finally you are going to tailor it. You are actually going to organize it. And in order to organize, what is needed is you need to make an outline, because the entire piece of information which you have, they are in cuts and pieces. They are in bits and pieces, and they have to be organized in particular sections in order to make the report or have the report a unified structure. So making an outline, and when you have an outline, then perhaps that will help you write the report. Now, I have already mentioned the terms of reference, because when you go to write the report, first think of where is the TOR, terms of reference, because it will provide you clear instructions. and it will also help you identify the problem, and you will also come to know how much of time is to be spent on what. It also needs, fine, it also provides you a chance for certain clarification just in the beginning, because when you are in the midst of the report, you cannot have that time. In order to save time also, you can get a chance to seek clarification before making a start in case instructions are ambiguous, instructions are not clear, my dear friend. Now, once you have the purpose ready, you will come to know, as I said, you have to determine your audience. Now, determine the audience means to whom you are going to submit the report. That is actually very important. Maybe at times senior officers, colleagues, counterparts, subordinate employees, some other organization, outside agencies, shareholders, customers, and members of people. Now, how is this going to help? This is actually going to help when you are going to write the report. Because if you know your relationship with these people or with your rapport with these people, it will help you formulate the language. Because through your report, you are actually going to convince the audience that this is actually the reality and this action has to be taken. Because as a report writer, you are going to recommend the courses of action. If the relationship is not good, if the relationship is hostile, as I said, at times, even the good suggestions also can be neglected. They can find fault in it. So please determine your audience. And once you determine your audience, you also have to ensure that when you are going to collect the knowledge, because it has to pass through several stages. Primary reader. Who is the primary reader? Who are the secondary readers? Primary readers may be people of your own organization. Secondary readers may be people who are associated with clients, customers, whatsoever. And then the business relationship that you can think about it. And moreover, what is also of utmost importance is the attitude. How is the attitude of these people towards the report writer? Fine. How is his knowledge on this topic? Fine. Sometimes a person having no knowledge on this aspect may simply put the report aside and may simply ignore, because the attitude of readers is very important in all terms of, in all ways of communication. The reader's attitude is very important to the report writer or to the communicator, my dear friend. The reader may at times have a sort of cognitive attitude. Fine. Maybe they can say that they know it all. Sometimes they have an affective fallacy. Fine. They may get emotional. Fine. How can I, because he never trusted me, how can I trust what he says? And then at times they may be favorable, they may be antagonistic, my dear friend. But on many occasions, when you are working in an organization and you are going to submit your own report, your audience members or the primary readers are familiar with you. And once there is a sort of familiarity, you actually find it more comfortable, or you find it more, in a familiar way to write the report, because that may not be difficult, my dear friend. Now comes data collection. As I have said, there are n number of data. Now with several innovative techniques nowadays, the data collection will also go on change. But basically, either when you are given the task, you have a look at any other, problem, and you will find that the very first stage is the observation. Even if some, some wrong incident happens or accident happens, even take the case of accident. Even first people go to that site to make a sort of personal observation, and when they have an observation, not only do they see, because observation word itself means and observation, to see with a purpose. Now that is the first important ingredient of it. When you go to the site, you see it, and you get some knowledge. And not only that, in order to verify that knowledge, you talk to the people. You talk to people who are there, the nearby people. Sometimes, a very intelligent police officers, when they are going to have an inquiry, they ask the little children so that they may be not biased. Because at times, if you are biased, naturally the data that will be provided by that, the data will actually be completely different and far from truth. On many occasions, you can also collect data with the help of the telephonic interviews. Now you have to understand as a report writer or as a person collecting the data, how will the data collected through telephonic interview be authentic? Because at times people may try to simulate the data. People may also try to hide the facts, no? Because when something is of a very sensitive nature, people may, even over telephone, they may not tell you the truth. And for that, what you do is you actually go for a personal interview. Now, you may ask me a question that can personal interview be very authentic? Yes, in most of the cases, it can be authentic because, however hard the other person tries, there are certain things that can be gauged by having a look at his facial expressions, my different. And then the questionnaires. So for a good number of people, you actually float questionnaires so that responses may come. It is actually easier, no doubt, when you are going to cover a good number of people, and it may be delayed at times, fine. But for that, the report writer pays the price of postage nowadays. Nowadays, people keep sending, questionnaires. You will also agree with me that at times we do not reply to those questionnaires. So if we do not reply to the questions, how can the data be authentic and verified? Fine. But then there are other ways also. Nowadays, I think whenever you want to have a sort of data, my difference, you can always go to internal records. Nowadays, Google is the best place. Now people start Googling the data, but then Googling is not enough. You actually have to verify the data. And then libraries and internets have become quite common for data collection, my difference. So these are the sources. We have talked about the sources and methods of data collection. Then we come, and once you have collected the data, how far is it authentic? You actually have to evaluate. So evaluation of the data. And when you are going to evaluate, who actually gave you this data? Even, somebody writes a report, when you give the assignment to your students to write a report, they actually copy. They may copy at times, they may paste. But as a teacher, fine, you have to ensure what is the credibility, where are the sources. Nowadays, it has actually become, when many people write research papers, and if in case we actually have to depend on the material provided by some of our colleagues, friends, students, whatsoever, we also have to ensure, we have to verify how much of it is true, how much of it is not plagiarized. That is also the case. So please see to it that when you are going to evaluate, look at the author's credibility, look at the original material. Even original material at times also may have the chances of getting copied or taken away from some other sources. Then the reputation of the publisher. Now that has actually become very important nowadays in this world of publishing and publishing, as Professor Phatak was mentioning yesterday. It has actually become very difficult. You actually need to publish in order that you do not perish, but one has to be very careful, my dear friend. And then how far your facts are supported, fine, and whether the purpose is the same or you have taken some other purpose. Then what are the views of the specialist, and then whether the data collected is timely or not, because the data which was collected or data that you took off 10 years before may not be relevant today. So you need also to see that the data is timely. Once you have done all that, evaluate it, then tailor it, my dear friend. Because a report is just like a tailored dress. No. And when you are bringing all the pieces together, you also have to believe in the principles of organization. Order it logically, coordinate it, subordinate it, number them, and have some phrases, then divide them. Because this will allow you to linguistically weave your report. So if it is ordered, BG professionals, now your report will actually go to somebody else who is superior to you in the organization, and they do not have much time to read everything. So what they will see that it is properly formulated, it is properly written, it has got a proper sequence, and they'll simply come to some of the graph charts, and they may come to conclusion or recommendation. And with a slight look on the charts and graphs and the table, they will understand how far has it been there. Of course, if the need be, they'll also go to the back section of the report in order to see what you have done. My dear friends, since it is a talk on, since it is an FDP on writing, much care has to be given to the writing task, my dear friends. I hope I'm audible, because some of them keep writing that I'm not audible. I hope I'm audible, my dear friends.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay, fine.
So
Now, please.
Yeah, please, sir.
So now our main task is writing, how to write. And the report writing also takes 3 stages. That is pre-writing, during writing, and post-writing. Yesterday, one question was asked by a candidate: how can we ensure that we have written a good paper? Fine. I here spend some time on it. My dear friends, once you know where you are going to publish it, please see to it. What is actually the reputation of the publisher? What sort of articles are being published? What actually is the documentation style? And then content, you are already the master of your own content. But when you have the content, now come to pre-writing task, because a research paper is also a sort of report writing, my dear. Then background of the reader. For whom are you writing? You may sometimes write for your colleagues. You may sometimes write for the higher officials. You may sometimes write for the market people. You may also write for the common people. Naturally, language will come into question. Why I'm writing, purpose of writing? I'm convincing, I'm persuading, I'm informing, fine. I'm instructing, I'm allotting, fine. And so the language for all these situations will be different. Then please, when you are writing, maintain this KISS formula. That is, keep it short and simple. No? At times, many people are under the impression that if I write very complex sentences and write a big paragraph, packing it with all sorts of words so that I can bombard the people on the other side, and they may think, what a great writer I'm emerging as. My dear friends, as a writer, you fail. Fine? You actually have to keep your audience in mind before you write. And then comes the layout. What should be the first part of the paper? Should it be the abstract? Fine. If it is abstract, how long or short it should be? If it is simply a summary, you also have to understand how is the summary to be written? How is the summary different from the abstract? And then come to the layout. No, in most of the cases, people ignore the layout, and that is why either the papers are rejected or sent back, or the report is not, in conformity with the layout. So pre-writing tasks one has to take care of. Then comes writing. And during writing, what you are going to do, you have already organized, because you have an outline, and keeping that outline in mind, you have started writing, organize the data, and then use of language. In most of the cases, when you are going for a business language and a standard language, let your language be direct. Don't say things in a very roundabout manner. Since I'm a man of language, I can tell you how one can write short, how one can write directly, how one can write indirectly. Because my main aim is to convince. I will write directly. Meaning thereby, I should not use a language that is circumlocutus, a language that is full of jargons, a language that is full of technicalities, because my report may also be read by people who do not have that much of technical knowledge. Or even if they have, or if it is something new, I need to provide some amount of explanation, sometimes in the back matter section of the report. Words, sentences, and paragraphs become very important, my dear friend. And once you have written that, the most important task is post-writing. Post-writing, rightly did Professor Pathak said yesterday that one need not be in a hurry to submit, because the dates are simply nearing or coming to an end. My dear friends, one has to keep a sort of advanced planning. And once you have written, read it twice or thrice. If you yourself feel that you are not able to do justice with it, please consult a language consultant. Please consult a person who knows the language. And even if you read, you will also find that there are certain things that could be deleted, There's certain things that could be added. There's certain sentences that could be cut short. There's certain paragraphs that can simply be made brief. So revise, edit, delete, and punctuate, my dear friend. Punctuation has gone now to the dust nowadays because of too much of use of communication in different forms. And if your writing is not properly punctuated, it may actually create a chaos, my dear friend. Now, we must also know where this report will go, how reports flow. This is also very important. And how does it help? Because if you're working in an organization, you may have to see that these reports flow in 3 ways. First is vertically, when you're informing, and it is for all of them. So you are informing. It may also go horizontally, between 2 colleagues, 2 peers, 2 units, 2 segments, 2 departments. And then radially, my report may also reach the common people. And that is why time and again it is being said that the language have to kept to the minimum. Minimum in the sense that let the language be as simple as possible. Fine. Internal reports, there are some reports which can only go internally, some new announcements, fine. And that should only reach the employees, because we are also talking of employee reports. So naturally, it will move internally. Sometimes it may also move horizontally, but sometimes it may go outside when for stakeholders, say for the market, fine. So vertically through channels, from one department to another, from one superior to the other person, because every organization has got a channel. Every organization, there is actually the channel, and sometimes it is called bureaucratic channel also, fine. And when it is radially distributed throughout the company to reach everyone, it actually is frequently sent outside the company. Now, for all these purposes, the language that you will use, because when you're talking to your colleagues, they know there are certain, words which they're familiar with. And in a majority of the organization, some technical words people of the same organization know, but when the same thing goes outside, they may not know. Naturally, we have to provide some other inputs. Now, shortly, I'll also be briefly touching upon what are actually the structure of the report, because I have been saying that a layout is needed. It cannot be simply 1-page report unless and until it has to be analyzed. If it is only simply a piece of information, maybe it can be 1 or 2 pages, fine. But when you are submitting an analytical or interpretive report, it may have a structure. So let us divide this, divide the structure of the report and try to find out what are the other elements of the structure. The first part will be professorial material. For example, if you have a look at a book is also a report, and you can find the first will be a cover page, then there'll be a preface. So we call that professorial material. And the professorial material, you will have cover page, fine. And then you'll come to the copyright notice, fine. On the cover page will be the title. And then again, we'll go to the preface, or in case it may also have a sort of foreword, fine. And then after that, there'll be main elements and then the back matter. Now, if we have all the elements of the report put together, let us try to find out what are these 10 elements, just like the 10 commandments, my dear friend. The first is the cover. Now, when somebody, in many organizations, they have the cover page already, fine. So you have to follow that. But if it is not, if you're writing a report on yourself, so then you have to think of what should be put in the cover. Now, the title of the cover, fine, that is very important. And then who has written the report, fine, for whom has the report been written, from where the report has been written, all these are required. In certain cases, they also provide you the report number. And after the cover comes the frontispiece, a very thin, glossy, fine, which can give you a transparent view, a thin paper like. It is actually just to arouse the curiosity of the readers towards your report. Maybe sometimes when you provide some charts and sometimes when you provide some maps and charts, you actually, in order to safeguard the report, save the report, you provide this frontispiece. Then comes the title page. The title page is a little bit different from the cover, where you also write the subtitle, isn't it? And then the copyright notice, since the report has been prepared by you. On the back of the title page, you will find written copyright notice. This report cannot be produced without the prior permission of the writer or the publisher whatsoever. And the year is also written. Now, copyright notice, and then a round is done, and it is then 2021, 2020 or 2021. Now this actually symbolizes the year. And then comes the forwarding letter. If you write a report, as I said, you do not write a report on your own. You are being given the task of writing a report, and that is why somebody authorizes you. So there's, and the report has to be forwarded also. So there's a forwarding letter. It is just like a business letter, but very short. Your report is being forwarded. Then comes the preface. It is of utmost importance to know here the difference between the preface and the foreword. If Bharat is writing the report, Bharat will write the preface. But if Bharat's boss is writing or recommending, then he will write a foreword. A foreword is also written by a person who is an eminent personality in that field. And you know why they write it? In order to promote the product, in order to promote a book, in order to promote the report. And then comes acknowledgement, where you can write from which sources whatsoever. This is just the page to thank all the people. Then comes the table of content, and then the list of illustrations, and then the abstract and the summary. So these all come under prefatory material, my dear friend. And this has to be followed. Unless and until the report is very short. Say, for example, if it is a memo report, naturally it is one page. It will not have all these nitty-gritties. Then we come to the main body. Fine. Yes, here some amount, some difference one should always be careful of, because people often ignore. They often get confused between abstract and summary. My dear friend, abstract is a shorter one, whereas the summary is a bit detailed. Fine. An abstract doesn't have any conclusion, but summary in a brief way also tells what the report is about or what this project is about. Fine. If the abstract is only 2% of the report, the summary should, in many cases, they call it executive summary as well. The summary should be between 5 to 10%. Fine. But then you can also put conclusions, find what the report is all about, you say it. But in abstract, this is not. On many occasions, when you submit the abstract, you submit the abstract under the impression that you will be doing this work, and based on this, the acceptance comes. But when you provide a summary or the executive summary, that can only be done when the entire report you have already done, and you simply want to give the other people a glimpse of what is there in this report. Now, these are the main parts of the report: introduction, discussion, conclusion, and recommendations. Now, what will be an introduction like? An introduction actually tells about what this report is all about, but the introduction length of the introduction has to be between 1 to 1.5 pages. It can talk about the history, the background, and what has happened, what is to be done, and how the report is to be divided, how it has been divided, from how the data has been collected. And then you come to the discussion, which is actually the main part of the entire report. It is detailed. We can call that this is the heart of the report. Here, a person does all sorts of analysis and interpretations. And while he or she does that, he actually takes, he ensures that the reader is kept in touch. No, maybe at times he's arguing, but he's arguing to convince. It is actually one preparatory step to reach the conclusion, my dear friend. And when we come to the conclusion is, the result of all the basis that you have provided in the discussion. So your discussion prepares you for conclusion. Naturally, conclusion will be shorter. And this is no new information is there in the conclusion. The conclusion is the summum bonum of what you have said, what you have discussed, analyzed, interpreted in the discussion part. But when we come to recommendation, here it is something new, because here Professor Bharat is giving a recommendation. Professor Saula is giving a recommendation of the report, because he knows the entire thing, what he has done. What can be the recommended action? No. So what can be the recommendations? Recommendations are also short. Both the conclusions and recommendations are short, my dear friend. And that is why in many cases they are numbered also. Now, when writing recommendations, one must also ensure that the recommendations are feasible. I mean, they are practical. If somebody recommends something, one ensures that such a thing can be done. Don't go for improbable recommendations, which cannot be done. Fine. So, and because on the basis of your recommendation, some action will be taken. Fine. And then we come to the back matter. And in the back matter, which is the last part of the report, because you cannot write everything in the discussion. If you had a data collection, with the help of questionnaire or personal interviews through questions, so all these can be flushed to the back matter. And if all these materials are too many, you can have several appendixes, find several appendixes, isn't it? And in these appendixes, if there are quite a good number of or variety of things, you can also divide them into appendix A, B, or C, whatsoever. Then we come to the list of references, or sometimes bibliography, depending upon what you have done. Here, one must also try to understand the difference between list of references and bibliography. Bibliography actually are the suggested readings also. One may, if one needs to. One also provides that these can be consulted. But a list of references, they are specific. You have consulted it and you have mentioned it also. And then finally, there is a glossary, which is an alphabetically arranged small words. Fine. If sometimes somebody simply wants to go to one word only, so one will go to the glossary page. And then also the index. Sometimes glossary and index, they actually appear to be the same. Fine. So these are all the structural elements of the report. And also, I'll also spend some time on the language part because that is very essential. Now, these are the introduction we have already discussed. What can be the items? I'll send you the slides. You can go through it in detail. Fine. And then this is all about discussion. So these findings will be based on fact and logic. Act on logic, so that it can help you reach the conclusion, my dear friend. The conclusion, in a way, are the exact findings of the report. Findings of the report, they can also answer to the problem statements, the problem that you made in the introduction. And then this is actually, in a way, this symbolizes the end of the discussion, and the conclusion is based on the logical inferences and judgments which we have so far discussed. In many cases, when you are giving recommendations, we sometimes see that this I thing also come. I mean, I recommend this action. Fine, it is always better to write the report in the very neutral language. I mean, in the third person narrative, isn't it? Not the first person narrative. But then you never know such recommendations will be taken into consideration or not, so that you actually relate it to whatever has been done, and on the basis of this you are recommending. It is not that you want it, you are recommending on the basis of it. And then comes the back matter, where we have said that if you provide all these in the midst of the discussion, it can actually block the flow of the reading. No. And BG professionals do not have time enough to read the entire report. They simply want to see that whether the conclusions or recommendations he has provided are based logically or not. That is why they go to the back section also and find out what sort of recommendations are there. Fine. Sometimes there can be interview sheets, statistical data, and methodologies involved. Now, these are, and how the bibliography and list of references are mentioned, most of you are aware of. Please go according to the rules. Please go according to the trend that is prevailing in your organization. Sometimes it may be APA, sometimes it may be MLA, sometimes you may have IEEE, whatever is prevalent, please go accordingly. Fine. In our case, especially in humanities, we go by MLA, but in certain cases, people go by APA. Now, while you are referring to, please see if the references are quite less. They can also be put at the on the same page. But even if you are doing that, please see to it. But if there are so many, you can number it. The normal rule is if you are putting a book, then naturally you write the surname first and then the first name, and then you write the name of the book. If it is a paper, you put it in under inverted commas. If it is book, you put it in italics, and then you talk about the press, and you also talk about the place and the year. And if you are mentioning it specifically in references, you also provide the page numbers, my dear friend. Now, here are certain examples that you can have a look at it. Fine. Sometimes when you provide one paper from a book, then naturally you put it under inverted commas. Fine. And then sometimes you can also take the help of some edited books. Fine. Some edited books. Then naturally, if it is edited books, you have to write eds, eds, eds. Fine. If you are taking from some corporate book, then you write corporate book whatsoever. So that totally varies and depends upon in which organization you are and what is the normal practice there. Then we come to, as I said, I'll also spend some time on the style, which is very important. And this style, actually style is the man, said a great author. But then when we talk about this style, especially in terms of writing reports, our style has to be natural, neutral. It should not be circumlocutus, because at times we are attracted to words more and more, my dear friend. And when you are attracted to words, of course, it gives you a sense of satisfaction to know more and more words. But think of the audience, think of from the audience's point of view, my dear friend. Sometimes words even so innocent and powerless as they are. Please put the questions when the lecture is over. Fine. Words so innocent and powerless as they are, as standing in a dictionary, how potent or good and evil they become in the hands of one who knows how to combine them. So words are innocent. Actually, much depends upon the user, how they use, how they bring. Sometimes the words may become very potential, but the same good word may be very irrelevant if they are not used dexterously or cleverly. Now, in order to make your report very effective, see to it that from the linguistic point of view, you maintain these. First, selection of words, which words you are going to select. Then comes jargons, cliché, foreign words and phrases, abbreviations, redundancy, circumlocution. It can take one entire lecture, but to tell you very briefly that all these, if you are working same organization, you are familiar with the jargon that you use. But the same word, which appears to be very familiar, may become a jargon for a layman like me because I am not used to that. Fine. Like that, when you use a cliché is actually a redundant word or phrase which has been repeatedly used. And then when you talk about redundancy, it is needless repetition. And then circumlocution, when you actually start using a very literal interpretation or making use of words very literally, then that may cause difficulty to other readers. On the right hand side, we have said, here are some examples you can yourself see, and you can find out what. Avoid using sesquipedalian words in a sentence. No, the words which are difficult, I have already italicized. Sesquipedalian words, meaning thereby what we mean to say is avoid using difficult words in a sentence. Sesquipedalian is a lengthy, sesquipedalian paragraph may be fine. The writing on the wall suggests a shortage of cereals this year because of excessive rains. The writing on the wall, this can also be substituted if we say it is predicted that there will be a shortage of cereals this year. Predicted. So the writing of the wall means predicts. So go for the familiar word. The government has left no stone unturned to control the pandemic. No stone unturned. It's a cliche. Fine. It is being overused. So we can always say the government has left no stone unturned to clear the to control the pandemic. We can say government has done all efforts or provided all efforts to control the pandemic. Many actors may soon get a sapiana. Sapiana. Again, the sapiana word is a foreign word. We can say many actors may soon get a call from the court. A call from the court. There has been a past history of the repetition of epidemic in every age. This past history word is actually a redundant expression. Many of you in scientific circles often say his basic fundamentals are not clear. My dear friends, it has only to be either to be basic or to be fundamentals. Like that, it has to be history or it has to be past. There cannot be a future history. No, history cannot be future. History is always past. So the newly appointed ones are eligible for an FIG. Now, this word FIG is an abbreviation which may have different meanings in different places. In educational institute, it may be faculty initiation grant, but whereas it can be something different in some other institutions or organizations. So what I need to focus here is that when you are making use of language, please ensure clarity, cohesion, and conciseness. Let us make our sentences shorter. Let us make it readable. And when I come to the word readable, I'm actually reminded of the readability formula that we'll discuss. Now, here are some examples of redundancy and jargon. So on the left-hand side, you can find redundant expressions, basic fundamentals. Now, there were only few in number. Few in number means there no one. True facts. How can be fact? How can we use false facts? So we should either say facts or truth or whatsoever. You have also heard or come across many people using repeat again. So either it is to be repeat or say it again. No, we always say, when are we going to return back? No, I am going to return or I will be back. Fine. The memories of the past. All these are redundant expressions. On the other hand, there are certain jargons, no, food for thought, crowning glory, summon substance, burning question, all these leave no stone unturned. Now, I was talking about readability. Now, what do I mean by readability? When we write something, we want that our writing will be read by people. In order to make it readable, we actually have to maintain certain regulations. It was actually in the 1950 that Robert Gunnis provided us with a readability formula where he said that if the fog index is below 12, it is readable. And he gives this fog index formula as saying that if there is one page write-up, please look at the number of difficult words, and this number of difficult words, one should get the percentage of number of difficult words, and that actually has to be difficult words plus average sentence length that will be multiplied by 0.4. That is actually Robert Gummidge's formula. But my dear friends, all of you will realize that it was given in 1950s. Now with the introduction of computers and many other technical gadgets, this readability formula has also gone a change. This has actually gone a change. Or even common people, even many common people know, certain words which in those days might have been very difficult. Now, even many abbreviations are being used by people who do not have any access to knowledge. CPU has become quite common. CPU, OTT has become quite common. There are many such things. And moreover, in order to ensure readability, one also has to see that not only the reader is familiar with what you are going to write, but we need to lessen the lengthy constructions, because these lengthy constructions may at times become breathless. They can give rise to breathless paragraphs, my dear friend. Everyone wants to take a breath when he or she reads. Now, before we come to the end of our talk, let me also tell you that when you have completely written the report and you are going to submit, but before that, please check whether your report is effective or not. How to do that? So please ask yourself whether the report meets the need of the situation. Is it properly organized and planned? Have you also provided some visual aids? Because nowadays people expect a lot of visual aids, no? Sometimes links, charts, paragraphs, pie charts, tables, whatsoever. And nowadays we also provide internet links and all. And does it really solve the problem? Because the main purpose of writing a report is to provide a solution to the problem, and solution can be provided only when the report writer has done a lot of labor to convince what actually is needed. And then based on this, if some decision is going to be taken, because the decision once taken may either mark or mold the future of an organization or even of an individual. My dear friends, report writing is of course a very complicated form of writing, but the need of the hour is to ensure for whom we are writing, why we are writing, in which manner we are writing, and what my writing will do. So let us end this talk by saying we are not won simply by arguments, because when you write the reports, you're arguing, that we can analyze, but by the tone and temper. Let me underline this word, by the tone and temper, by the manner, which is the man himself. So please find out whether had you been in this condition when you have to analyze the difficult situation, could the writing or could the language be the same? Because my different styles vary, but the best style is the one that suits everyone. Thank you very much. I wish you all a very good day. I'm here if there are questions, because in and between some questions were blinking and I'm ready now to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I
for
think
this,
I'm on time.
Yes, sir. Like we can take some questions.
Yes,
With
yes,
your
please.
permission.
I am there.
Yes, sir. There is a question from Mr. Mr. Arjun Babu. Sir, how the conclusion should be structured that would summarize the whole report within a paragraph or one or two?
Okay. If one actually interpret things well, the very first thing is one knows the problem, and once knows the problem, and with the help of the data what he or she has analyzed, on the basis of the analysis that he has done, they will come to have the conclusion, because they cannot give every conclusion. Otherwise, the problem remains the same. So the conclusion has to be very concrete. And for that, you need to do a lot of belaboring when you are writing the report, when you are interpreting the data. Fine. Say, for example, take for example, when we say this online teaching and one writes the report. So what he will do, he or she will do, one will look at all the pros and cons and also will take the data. But finally, when he is going to conclude, then he will conclude that while offline teaching is the best way, but in the present condition, a new need has emerged, and the need is also to continue the online teaching. So now this totally depends upon the report writer, how he has interpreted and how he can come to give the conclusion. I hope I have been able to answer the person.
Yes, sir, surely. Sir, there is a one it's not a question sort of thing.
Yes.
Like what he is saying, that from the talk, I understand that it is important to know one's audience. Informational reports are ought to represent factuals and accurate data without manipulations. But if we tailor and organize report as per our audience, then how can we still be objective and unbiased in information convenience? I mean, it's
Okay.
like actually, say there you said that tailored the reports and also
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Actually, in informational report, you do not have the time to tailor, because informational reporters, as the title itself says, it is only information. You may have a data sheet and there are certain columns. You simply need to fill that. How can you tailor it? You cannot tailor it. And moreover, since it is facts, you cannot change the facts. You cannot change the facts. That is why the report writer does not have much role in an informational report. He simply presents whatever is there. And interpretive report goes one step ahead, because whatever the data is there, he not only presents, he interprets, analyzes. So there lies the difference.
Yes. So there is another question from P. Devachand Singh. Is the feature scope a part of conclusion or recommendation?
I didn't get.
He's asking like future scope. Where should we keep the future scope? Whether we should keep in
Recommendation only.
Yeah, and there is another question from Dr. Amit Kumar Sharma. What is the difference between bibliography and list of references?
Okay. Biblio itself means books. Bibliography means books consulted. Not only the report writer consults, but the report writer does not make it specific. But when he makes it specific, he actually refers to it, and then he actually sees to it that it is not only referred, but it is also numbered. In bibliography, I can provide a number of books which can be helpful for the readers. So bibliography is an alphabetically arranged list, whereas list of references are specific and they are provided as you have referred to in the paper or in the report, not alphabetically.
So there is another question from
Yes.
Gaurav Sharma.
Hmm.
Can we write conclusion of our work done based on the research paper in each chapter, or we have to write at last?
No, the conclusion is always written towards the end. Fine. In all the other chapters, you are simply writing. The chapters are helping you to reach the conclusion. Fine. So you do not write the conclusion in every chapter. Of course, you say that if you are discussing a book or a policy or say some formula, you mention it. But overall, you have to understand what is the title of your report. So the final thing, the final conclusion will be the summum bonum or the sum and substance of all that you have done in all the chapters. So that should always come towards the end. One person
Yes,
has
sir.
asked, how can we change one style of the reference? It is gone. Can you elaborate on the difference between summary and conclusion? Yes, of course. Fine. Conclusion is based on what you have analyzed. But summary is you talk about the history also to a little bit, then the data used, methodology used, and then you provide some conclusion. Know what this report says about. That is there. Fine. Yes. Any other question? I'm happy that there are questions.
Yes, sir. So the people are taking interest actually. They are interpreting in that their own ways. So, sir, I cannot see any other queries right now or any questions. So,
Okay.
So we are very thankful to Sir Professor Vinod Mishra for your time. And yes, sir, are you saying something?
Yes.
Saula, sir?
No, I'm just thanking him. Sir, thank you very much for your time and efforts and your blessings and affection with us. We hope you will be with us for a long time.
Yes.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Towards the
Thank you so much.
participants, dear participants, Professor Mishra again have tomorrow morning early first talk, and please be there before 11 o'clock, 10:45. We'll open the right so that we can start in time. And sir is there for more question answers that way.
Yes, whatever it be, please.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all
you,
the
sir.
participants.
Thank you very much.
And thank you organizers for providing me time and opportunity. I wish I will try once again to do my best. Thank you. Have a
Thank you
nice
so much,
day.
sir. Yeah.
Nice day, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice day, sir. Now we will move to the our next expert,
Dr. Salish.
Mr. Akshay Prasanna.
Yeah, Akshay is already here. Let's welcome Mr. Akshay Prasanna.
Hi.
Good morning, Akshay.
Hello. Good morning, Akshay.
Vineet here.
Good morning.
Dr. Bharat. Dr. Bharat is
Hi.
professor in NIT Patna. He is also with us.
Yeah. Hi. And we have already a little bit late. So can we start the presentation? Let me just introduce you in front of the audience first.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. First, very good morning to all of you. Now it's afternoon, and now we have another speaker from Tantin, Mr. Akshay Prasanna, and he comes from with a background in learning development and customer success. Mr. Akshay Prasanna holds the degree of bachelor degree in electronics and communication engineering. He has trained more than 4 lakh end users of various higher education institutions, corporate, government, R&D sections across South Asia for various solutions and products. He has nearly 10 more than 10 years of experience in EdTech and SaaS organization. And now he is currently working as a senior professional educational services specialist for the South Asia turn team. Now, I will like to call Mr. Akshay Prasanna to take a talk on anti-plagiarism tool turn team. So now I request you to please and
Thank you.
take
Well,
the
welcome, Akshay. Welcome, Akshay. And at the outset, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. I hope my screen is visible for everyone. Bharat sir, if you can confirm. Or...
yes,
Yeah,
it is visible. Yes, it is
Alright.
visible.
Thank you so much.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so thanks for the brief introduction. Thank you for this opportunity also. We welcome on behalf of Turnitin for this session. I'll keep it crystal and most of you might have heard about Turnitin. I have some questions might come up with regards to anything that you feel like. My colleague is also there. If I could answer, I'll take it up. If he could answer, he will take it up. At the chat box, we can take it up at the end of the session, or you want to put something, or you can intervene at any point of time. So jot down the questions, we can discuss.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Akshay.
Yes, please, sir.
Do we need to make him join also? We can give him the link to join, or he's with you, your colleague?
I think Amit had a link with him. If you can permit him when he joins, that would be fine.
He can just send me an email so that I can include him in the.
I think I've texted him. He will do that, sir. He will do that. Or you can forward the email.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think Vinit sir will take over. So today's learning objective, I'll speak about, it was a good session. I was there some part of it for the previous one. I'll talk about plagiarism, what is academic misconduct, how formative tools can help you. Earlier in India, this much rigorous work on plagiarism was not there. But now, which has national importance institutions or non-national important institutions, everyone are very much concerned on plagiarism. So we need to understand what is the follow through of it. How do you identify plagiarism? What comes into plagiarism? What does not consider to be plagiarism? How can someone's feedback help students a lot in avoiding plagiarism? So these are the things which we are going to talk about and speak about. There is something called as Turnitin Educator Program. I'll share this link with you all at the end. This is a journey of 10 weeks program it is. You can all have a look at it. This will really help you a lot. In case if you feel it is very interesting, you can have a look at it and you can join this program also. This would be the hyperlink for it. You can go 10 weeks. It will be one step at a time. You will have a better understanding about practical learning. So what do you mean by plagiarism? According to Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, anything that you pass off, steal, ideas, words, text, or someone's voice also is considered to be as plagiarism. To use someone else's production or someone else's text context without giving a credit to them will lead to plagiarism. And let me tell you one thing, there is no tool or no software in the world which will tell you this is plagiarized content. Every tool can give you, this is the similarity index. That is, this text is matching with some other text. You might have written on your own, but you will never know that there is someone else who has already published in your subject area or in your research area. So to identify that, you need such kind of tools. You need to identify whether there is someone who is working in IoT in my subject area, AI, data science, whatever it might be, starting from engineering, medical, or law, or whatsoever. You might think that this is your content, but there might be someone else also who has used that content. To have this academic integrity defined, International Center has 6 fundamental values. Everyone should have the 6 fundamental values, which is really helpful, which is really useful, which is trust, honesty, courage, fairness, respect, and responsibility. If you have the 6 fundamental aspects or values, you will be in the form of academic integrity. You will be able to define what exactly academic integrity is, and you will be able to bound to it. So plagiarism can be avoided using the tool, but similarity index report is what gets generated. That's why plagiarism prevention tool it is called. How can a software tell that this is plagiarized? No, a reviewer can tell this is plagiarized, but a software can tell there is a text similarity. What you have written is already published. That that it can text matching, literature to literature matching, it will identify that. So sir was talking a lot about this. How do you develop an academic integrity? So to have a stress on it, I always advise to start early. Do not have end moment hurry up, because that will lead that, okay, my deadline is coming up, let me copy from someone else, or someone let me bring out the data from someone. That leads to plagiarism a lot of times. If you want to have a better document, better publications, better article, better thesis, whatever it is, it should start pretty early. So if you start your work pretty early, it will really helpful. It's a journey of academic integrity. You need to illustrate a lot of things to avoid plagiarism. So make use of it. Turnitin doesn't bound to have a restricted uploads or anything. You can check multiple number of times. So for example, if my institute says, Akshay, your similarity is 10% of acceptance is there for whatever publication you are doing. So my document, if it says 30%, I can rework on it. I can rework on it so that it reduces below 10%. So effective time management will help you to avoid plagiarism. If not, that is the end moment. Last extension is what I have got. I have to finish somehow the other way. I'll lead to plagiarism. So you need to have a complete research analysis for that. So what are the plagiarism effects? This is one more key thing. What is there for an individual if it doesn't if you don't use some tools like this, if it's unattended, what will happen? So that's very important for an individual. If I don't check anything like such, tomorrow reviewer tell Akshay, your document is plagiarized with so much content. Before that, I need to review, I need to upload the document, I should identify what is the similarity. Only then I'll be able to avoid plagiarism. And also authentic learning will enable. So what happens in some cases is, and I check my document, or when you check your document, you will see the similarity percentage. In case if that other author somewhere it is matching, he might be working in your subject area. What if his knowledge is much better than yours? He is more advanced than you. You can read his document. So that feasibility is there. So authentic learning can happen. You can cite him, you can cite her, you can give credits to them, and also without any hesitation you can publish. So you can enjoy your accomplishments also, that yes, I have copied from so and so person and I've given credit to him. When it is very important for an institution, anytime if some institution doesn't check similarity, student in the institute comes in picture, and institute student was plagiarized. They'll not remember Akshay was plagiarized. They'll remember my institute was plagiarized. So to avoid this, every institution has the best of the best softwares. So Turnitin provides one of the best standards in that, because the largest database. So I'll tell you what are the databases. So when coming back here for an institution, if any student gets plagiarized, the student name is sidelined, the institution name comes in, the enjoyment of accomplishments will be reduced. So this is very important. The environment will be broken with trust, and there will be a lot of issues. So this is very important, and effects of plagiarism. In most of the cases, what we identified why students get into plagiarism is these are the few reasons. They won't notice that they are plagiarized because they don't use any tools like such. They don't know what is plagiarism in some cases. Not today, but earlier this used to happen. So they run out of time, they tend to copy. They can improve their marks. That's why they copy, they get into plagiarism. This has been taught from school also. What is there in textbook? If you bring in picture, only then you get good marks. So that will lead to plagiarism. So they don't even realize that copying is also bad. Okay, I copied from my professor. What's wrong in that? I copied from my own article. What's wrong in that? Self-plagiarism. So how do we have to overcome this? That's what we're going to talk about it today. Turnitin also has some kind of grammatic check tools also, which will help you to check grammatic mistakes up to 64,000 characters. With similarity checking, you will also be able to do grammatic checks also. Punctuations is very important. Just one single comma is making complete difference in the sentence. So please have an idea about it before checking. Have the grammatic check, or else while doing it, you will have ETSC later, have the grammatic check there also. So what is the difference between plagiarism and text similarity? So plagiarism is presenting someone's ideas, work, or someone else's work without giving credit to the source, without giving credit to Vineet sir or Rajat sir, or whomsoever it is. If I'm doing that, that leads to plagiarism. When it comes to text similarity, It is just a match that is showing as similarity. Like for example, essay topics is common for the whole class, it will show a similarity. So these kind of ideas or work which you replicate will always show a similarity. You will be able to see that. In Turnitin, what are the expected similarities? So, okay, I have written on my own, but something will always show a similarity if you don't use filters. As one is quoted materials, reference and citation. So gave a little bit talk about what is difference between these two, and also common facts. Common facts are always quoted between double quotes. So when you use this filter, quoted materials, that will happen. So it will work for you. So Turnitin generates about 20 per second, 20 reports per second, almost and sometimes on a busy day it has gone to 1 million submissions also. So that's the amount of submission that happens for Turnitin. So why Turnitin, not any other tools? There is one more, if you have heard about Authenticate, it's also Turnitin software. We have multiple softwares under Turnitin Similarity, Authenticate, Turnitin Feedback Studio is some of them. And there is Turnitin Gradescope. Okay, so there are multiple softwares Turnitin owns. Depending on the requirement, we have provided the tools. So the databases covers most of the same content, scholarly publications, content partners, we have exclusive tie-ups, and also internet, current and archive also, and there's custom databases. For example, IIT Hyderabad might have their own custom database, NIT, MNIT. So this is called a standard repository. If you save some content in private repository or custom database, that will also show as student paper of so and so university. That's also part of the repository, and there is some databases. And scholarly publication 82 million, in content partners about 92 million, in internet about 91 billion, and custom. So these are pages that we cover. There is one exclusive tie-up with Turnitin called as Crossref database, which covers about 15 million. So which is exclusive in all the STM published, like Elsevier, Springer, Wiley, IEEE, etc., etc. So you don't have access to Turnitin, you will skip this 50 million journals, which is exclusive with Turnitin. You will get the similarity of writing. Your chance of getting placed on the highest. Your students getting rights will be high. A couple of slides ago, what are the expected similarities? If I see, we were able to identify about 12 unoriginal work, which is familiarly for all the educational sectors. So if you have to get original thinking, you should not get into all these things. One is student collaboration, exchanging the documents with other, or else Control C, Control F, Control C, Control V. These days, there is something called as contract cheating, hiring someone to write your assignments. That will also document without knowingly or unknowingly using, and it will lead to plagiarism. So please have an idea about it. I think, okay, so there is some chat. Okay, all right, I'll disable my video in case if the voice is not audible. I hope my voice is audible right now comparatively. Okay, there is something called as mosaic plagiarism. This is very important for faculties in most of the cases. If the student is copied from multiple sources, let me give you an example. If I copy from, I'm working on data science, I copy from Elsevier, I copy from Springer, I copy from Wiley, I collate everything, and if I try to publish, it will lead to mosaic plagiarism. Tool will be able to identify this also. Going ahead, we will be introducing code plagiarism and other things, which is going to come up in some days. This I would like to stress in most of the cases, which is very, very important. Every student should know what is the defined policy. If it is thesis and if it is deemed university or autonomous institution, you need to know what is the defined policy for the journal that you have in your institution. Or if you're submitting, if you're a research scholar, what is the thesis, norms? What is the norms that has to be followed? If I talk about UGC norms, UGC has certain norms. 10% is the similarity acceptance rate, excluding bibliographic materials, excluding quoted materials. Threshold of words is 14. This is UGC norms. If I don't know the norms, I have to create some awareness for the students also. So I should be aware as a faculty what exactly is the policy. So if I go to journals have different policy. There is nothing like global policy, that global norms that we follow. So to have the holistic support for academic integrity, you need to create some awareness. We are doing one of them, and educate the students, also, which is very important. So educating the students in the sense by creating some awareness. How do you cite properly? How do you give better understanding? And also you should be able to protect your values of your institution if you are able to implement these kind of policies. So policy making is very, very important. UGC has certain policies. Some universities, I've heard, they have their own policies. So have that idea. Based on that, you can do settings in Turnitin. If you don't know that policy, please try to find out. Journals, how do you identify the policy? There is something called as journal recommenders. So publication recommenders, some places it is called as. So you will be able to identify the journal by giving you abstract, which will tell you which journal to publish, which conference to publish. So if you are able to take that, that will be really helpful. And if you are able to get that, it will give you a better understanding. So you will be able to follow the norms, and you will be able to submit the documents. That will be easier and more familiar and more better for you all. So you can also protect your institution's values with respect to this. What you can do in Turnitin, first thing I want to talk about, we have our flagship product, which is called as Turnitin Feedback Studio. Most of the institutions use this tool because one of the best feedback mechanism is there. We have three types of logins. One is administrator login, instructor login, and student login. Admin is one person in an institution. Normally, it depends. Dean academics, examination controller. Sometimes it is HOD. Sometimes it is librarian. Sometimes it is IT. Depends. One point of contact for Turnitin will be this administrator, and who will interim contact with all the complete institution. So he can give or she can give access to faculties. Faculty can give an access to students by using their first name, last name, and email ID. This can happen. So how you can find out you have access or not, you is just by contacting who is the administrator. Identify the administrator, find out that whether you have access or not, or else give your first name, last name, and email ID, and you can take it up accordingly. Feedback Studio has three exclusive things. One is similarity report. All the Turnitin softwares have this generation of similarity report to safeguard academic integrity. But for giving grade mark, feedback is the exclusive tool where you can grade your students. You can also use ETS e-rata for grammatic mistakes, and also you can give comments. Specific comments like voice comments can be given, quick marks, annotations can be used. I'll show you all those things. Whenever you upload any document to Turnitin, first thing that you should observe is whether there is any flags. I'm not sure people who were using earlier, whether you know this or not, but I just wanted to bring this in picture. There is something called as flags. Flags are those which will tell you whether there is any hidden characters, hidden text in your document. You will be able to identify that. You will be able to see that. So that's why you need to see whether there is flags. If it is yes, stop consulting there, start the integrity policy and send it back to the student and ask them to resubmit. In case if there is no flags at all, then you can continue for the next step. Okay. First thing we have to identify is whether there is flags or not. Second thing is quotes and references. So check whether the filters is used, and if the student is using unintentional, or intentional quotes, like purposely is double quoted something so that it doesn't show similarity, try to identify that. If there is nothing like such, or unintentional is there in the sense, provide some formative feedback. If there is nothing like such, you can move to the next matches, which is very important, which will tell you from which source your text is matching, from which source your text is showing similarity. You will be able to identify that. Ultimately, you can also provide feedback to your students with these many things, which will help the students to manage their time, citation skills, argumentation, critical thinking, grammatic check. All these things can be improved at the students level with Feedback Studio in picture. Turnitin also enables the ecosystem to integrate with multiple LMSs, that is learning management systems like Moodle, Blackboard, Sakai, D2L, etc. You can use any of this. Most of our cases, the similarity scores will be shown in this way. So blue color is 0% similarity. Something between 1 to 24 will be in green, 25 to 49 in yellow, 50 to 74 in orange, and 75 to 100 in red. So that's how it shows. So I'll take you to the live platform, which is www.turnitin.com. This is the homepage of Turnitin. The moment you log in, you will log into your Turnitin homepage. So there are three types of login, as I said. One is administrator login, instructor login, and student login. The login that I am in now is called as instructor login, where instructor creates a class, creates an assignment, gives access to students, and all the students, when they submit, it will reflect like this. So you can see here 0% is possible. Some students, they might have written in an exclusive, I mean different way, it is not exclusive way or something like that. It's like a way of writing is different, or their concept is different. Someone who's not published in that way, that's why it is showing as 0%. But there are instances where you can see 100%, 98, 99, 100 also, which will show a similarity for you. I'll take one example which is neither too low, neither too high. I'll take something which is in between. I'll show you how the report looks like. Then we can understand how exactly you can guide the student, what you can do with it. That will also be shown. So first thing, as I said in the presentation, you need to look for flags. The first tab that Turnitin shows is flag section. So you can see here, there are two things that has been used in this document. One is hidden text. About 8 hidden texts are there and 3 pages. So if you scroll down, you will be able to identify, because it will be highlighted. It will be shown in highlighted text. There is replaced characters also. So you can see here, there are few. Instead of O, if they have used 0, if there is 0 used of O, it will show there are flags. So you need to see these flags. If the student is genuine, you can ignore it. The reviewer will check all these things, or the guide will check all these things, or faculty will be able to check all these things. So that's why you will be able to see this thing first. Okay, next comes filters. So when you go to filters, you can see whether quoted materials are excluded or not, bibliography is excluded or not, what is the threshold of words. You can see here. Let me tell you what is quoted materials. Quoted materials are those which can be used for standard statements and definitions. What do you mean by standard statements and definitions here? For example, Newton's law. Can you rewrite the sentence in a different way? No, it's impossible. It will become a wrong statement. So every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So how do I rewrite it? I mean, you can use something else, but ultimately it's Newton's law itself. So that point of time when I'm debating about it, I quote it in double quotes that I've used Newton's law, because I can't give citation to it. The same way, if I'm using something in English saying an apple a day keeps a doctor away, I quote it in double quotes. So standard statements and definitions, they use double quotes. So in law universities, they use amendments for writing theses. So which cannot be rewritten, So they quote it in double quotes, or it cannot be paraphrased, or they cannot use synonyms also. So they quote it in double quotes, because it will become false amendment. They cannot be using it at all. So you need to have this quoted materials exclusive. So this filter can be used if the reviewer is going to do it. In some journals, they don't use exclude quoted materials. But most of the journals, most of the cases, UGC, whomsoever, wheresoever we go, in 90 to 98% of the cases, bibliography exclusion will happen. So what do we mean by bibliographic exclusion? All your citations, references, work cited, all these things gets excluded automatically when you have used it in the document. That's called as bibliographic materials exclusion or bibliography exclusion. Let me tell you one thing. If you have given wrong citation, even that will show a similarity. So citation should be in the right format. Please keep that in mind. Citation should always be in the right format. If you're using MLA, BibTeX, APA, whatsoever it is, it should be in the right format. MLA, not more than 3 lines. So simultaneously, you have to have the citations. If your citation still it's reflecting, just name on top, just references, and with colon, it will start ignoring the bibliographic materials. Threshold of words, what does this mean? this filters plays very, very important role. Okay, so 33% is there. I'll speak about the words and I'll show you the difference. So word count is something which every publisher has some kind of word count. 5 words, 7 words, 8 words, 10 words. If I go to UGC, UGC norm says 14 words of exclusion for theses. If I go to some other universities like Vishweshwara Technical Universities, they say 5 words only, because their similarity acceptance rate is 25%. So whatever it is, you have to put the same words here so that it will match the same percentage when the reviewer does. So let me use 14 words and mention this as per the UGC norms. Don't ask me this, what is percentage? I'll tell you what is percentage, but don't tell me this, that 14 words instead of this, can I use 14 percentage? No, you cannot use it. Percentage is mostly used in Western countries for excluding percentage limit. This is 14 word limitation. This is percentage. They'll keep it usually 1%. So anything that is matching below 1%, it gets auto excluded. So they use that. I think in India also a couple of universities have seen this 1% they have used, but in Turnitin you can use either of it. Either you can use word count or you can use percentage. So let me stick to UGC norms right now. And when I click to apply changes, let me see if this percentage goes down, 33. Not much of a difference, I guess. Yeah. Oh, see, about 88% went down just by using the right filters. Right filters has to be used at right time. So I cannot change it however I want. It should be in uniform way and it should be in the right way. Only then it gets excluded. Now what I will do is, one is first is flags, then I used filters. Now I'll see from which sources my text is matching. When I click on it, it will show from which source the text is matching. Look at this sentence. The student has used the same text, just added few words in between. So that doesn't mean that you have rephrased it or paraphrased it or you have rewritten in a different way. In case if you have paraphrased also, people cite it sometimes, which is very, very important. Okay, so if this is my article, I've not copied from anyone, but still it is showing similarity. I can click on this full text view and the full text will open up on the right hand side. If it is open access article or if it is subscribed by your institution, then it will show like this. So you can see here how the texts have been taken. Okay, so few sentences have been added in between and you will be able to find out all those things. So 14 words exclusion which is being done is with respect to UGC norms. But if it is 5 words, it will be journal norms, or 7 words, depending on the journal, you will be able to identify. But concentrating on this now, first one was from springer.com. It is matching. It is open source article. It is showing. When I click on the second one, this is also open source. That's why it is showing. At some cases, this full text will not open up. So can you see this? This is shown as there is no full text, but this is submitted to National Institute of Technology. If you click on it, you will be able to find out and request for full source view. Only then it will show you up. So like this, you will be able to navigate through from which all text the text is matching, and you will be able to identify it accordingly. So this is springer.com. Maybe the same student has taken from their previous publication. Earlier, what used to happen is from few years ago, when we used to write thesis, we used to pull out publications from my any other article, and I used to paste it as a chapter. I mean, now also in some cases, some parts of the world, and even in India, some universities, some autonomous institutions, they accept it. But UGC doesn't accept it some cases. So what happens is I cannot pull my previous publication as a chapter now. If I am pulling some content also, I have to cite it in the form of self citation. Only then it can be excluded to certain extent. So that's very, very important. That is very key thing. You need to know about it. I'll come to the questions later on. I know you guys have a lot of questions. I'll address that. Some of the faculties also asked in few instances that Akshay, can we exclude some sources? For example, my student has given some citation for his or her document. I want to exclude that. Can you do it? Yes, we have given the feasibility to the faculty. So there is exclude source option. If you click on it, you will be able to exclude it manually. And if you want to see if there is any subtopics in that, you will be able to find out that also. Complete understanding will be there with the faculty and the student. They will be able to see each other's document. I mean, students' document can be visible for faculty, not vice versa. So these are the things that faculty can interpret with similarity report. Now, I mean, what you might ask, what is this last option? It is like blank. See, this is Ms. Shreyasvi's document. You can see here, it's her name. I've removed all her because the reason is it's her own document and it is her own thesis. So her name will reflect. So I've removed this because she has given citation to it. If I want to restore it all, I can restore it all at any point of time, and I can reload it also. It will give me a new report. So I'll come to the questions. I know there are some questions are popping up. I just don't want to miss the flow about it. Yeah, but I'll come to these questions. So you will be able to see now. It's come back to 36 because I've included all the self-plagiarized documents also. Self-plagiarized, I can call it because citation is not given to it. Okay. In case citation is given, then I cannot consider as plagiarism. There are certain parameters to measure those also. You have to follow that. Now I cannot run ETS editor because this has more than 64,000 characters. But now I'm going to show you something which is really important. Let me show you. The best thing is now I want to give some feedback to my student about this. These blue icons are exclusively available with our flagship product called as Turnitin Feedback Studio. Now, the first one is, if I'm a faculty, I want to tell the students to give some kind of citations or some kind of changes has to be done. There is commonly used citation or feedback comments that can be given in the form of quick marks. I can drag and drop and tell that citation is needed here. So if there is any weak transition, I can drag and drop. So for example, if I use something regularly, I have created my own marks. I can bring and drop it down here and tell the student, this is the mistakes that you have done. So this way you can give a comment. If the students wants to use some, I mean, anything else, you can have this. If you want to give some kind of comments to the students, faculty can give voice comments also here. 3-minute voice can be recorded and it can be shared, and you can give a overall text feedback, how the document looks, and all those things can be given. Also, if you want to ask the student to read something, or maybe a URL has to be shared with your students, so just click here, click on the comment section. You can tell that refer the URL and give the URL here, www.google.com. Okay, I'm just giving an example, and you can convert it to a quick mark, so that if you want to give this comments to multiple people, you can use this also at any point of time. You can convert this as a quick mark also. So I've given a comment, it will show as APS commented. So faculty has to not to take, I mean, no need to worry and take a pain that I need to go to somewhere else, copy all the mistakes, jot it down in a white paper, share it to students, or orally if I tell my students, they'll remember 30% of it, 70% they forget. This multiple number of times. So this is one way of feedback. There's one more way of feedback where faculty feels my student has to write something that is specific. So what you can do is faculty can tap anywhere, click on this text annotation tool, and start typing their feedback or comments. So it will start reflecting in the student account. Even when you download this document also, you will be able to identify that. That is the best part of it. So you can do that also, and you can give the comments also, voice comments, overall everything. There is a feasibility of measuring the documents also by rubrics. If the faculty can create some rubrics, you can measure the student documents also. It will calculate to the scalings that you have given, and when you apply to grade, it will calculate to the whole grade also, and it will give it at any point of time. You can do that also. It will calculate and it will show how much the student has scored. You can set this par score also in Turnitin accordingly. So how do you download these documents? There are 3 types of downloads. One is current view report, which is always suggested by me. The reason behind using current view report is it gives you an in detailed report, what similarity is showing, from which source it is showing, what comments faculty has given, where there is grammatic error. Everything pin to pin will be covered in current view report. Whereas there is something called as digital receipt, which will give you 1-page document, which will tell you who is the author, what is the document title, that's all. But there is original submitted file, which will give you the same old PDF or Word file or presentation or Excel file, whatever the student has submitted, that file. This is very important. Earlier, all the faculty used to complain about this hidden characters or white spaces that is being used. The flags has been given as a indication, but earlier also we had some kind of notifications like this. So if you can see here, we used to give caution sign like this. Okay, so Arvind word is 87% here. Arvind word is which is called as let this download. Arvind PDF is 2% of similarity. So I'll show you what exactly this means. I'll just take some more time. That's all, couple of maybe 5 minutes max. So let me download digital receipt also. Digital receipt will give you one-page document, as I said. It is downloading both current view report and digital receipt. I'll show you both the documents also. So just let me show you how it looks. I think I have some other documents with respect to that. So this is how the HTML report looks like. Okay, this is how the current view report looks like. This is how the current view report looks like. Document title, who is the author, complete details of the author. You can scroll down, you will be able to see the similarity percentage. 26 from internet sources were copied, 23% from publication and student paper. If you add all these things, it is more than this. Why it is showing 34 is uniqueness of the text. What was there in internet might be there in publication, or what is there in publication might be there in student paper, or vice versa. So uniqueness of text will be calculated and it will give you the overall percentage which has to be considered. Here in the report, you will get some hyperlinks also. Some are not hyperlinked, some are hyperlinked. If exclude quotes are there, the quoted materials are excluded. And if exclude matches is there, how many words it will show. If you have excluded bibliography, it will show as on, so that the bibliographic materials are also there. And if you have graded the student, it will show what is the score. And if it is grammatic mistakes are there, it will show page-wise grammatic mistakes also. At the bottom of the page, student will get feedback on rubrics also, why they have been scored that way. So complete in detail report will be there. There is one more, which is HTML report. This is the HTML report. HTML report will carry the name. That's why people try to download this most of the time. Whereas the original, digital receipt, you will be able to see the digital receipt like this, one-page document. That's all. Grammatic mistakes can be checked with ETS erater. It doesn't get generated because this is 64,000 characters and above. If it is less than 64,000 characters, then it gets generated. Usually what happens is, let me tell you, 64,000 characters, if it is crossing, people try to check it by what you call as maybe by chapter, they'll try to check sometimes. So that can be done. So you will be able to use it accordingly. You will be able to check it accordingly. So this visibility is there accordingly. You will be able to take it accordingly. So you will see the receipts, you can download it. I want to show this example where it shows caution sign. When you move your cursor on the caution sign, it will tell you what exactly it is. But I'll show you this example, Arvind word, which is showing 87% similarity. This is purely for faculties. Faculties can get this indications all the time. So it is showing 87% of similarity. Chapter 1, introduction, project description, wireless sensor network, etc., is there. 87%. The same Arvind PDF is 2% of similarity. The moment I click on it, 2%, you will see that same PDF. I'll read the text also for you guys. Chapter 1, introduction, project description, wireless sensor network. How come this is 2%? That is 87. This is something which is carrying flags here. So you can see here, the moment you click on flags, you will be able to see if the student has done some hidden text or something like that. The moment you click on this hidden text, you will be able to see where all the hidden texts are there. Can you see this? The student has joined. So student has replaced so many characters with white. So this is the thing that you will be able to identify. They've colored it in white. And they have saved it as a PDF. So this is why it is showing as similarity, lesser similarity. So most of the universities, they were able to make out of this because there were some YouTube videos where students followed this. But let me tell you, faculty can catch hold of you at any point of time. So this is how you find out. Some cases I've heard that student documents first time it showed 10%, but second time it shows 100%. To avoid that, you should select no repository in your assignment settings. You can go to assignment settings and do it. Faculty can do it, but there is paper IDs. If you can share this paper ID, previous publications can be deleted. So previous publications has to be deleted in the sense you need to share this paper IDs. So to get the previous any kind of documents that is saved in standard repository to be deleted. So if you want to do that, you need to approach your administrator. Administrator will send an email to TII support of our support team, and then we can get it deleted. So that is the thing. Always we have something called as help section. Please get into this help section, which has a Turnitin website. Each category of users has certain user guides. You will be able to make use of it all the time. And also we have some community also, which will help you to understand about different educator networks are there. A lot of blogs will be there, which can help you. And also if you want to search for something, you can do that. You can also sign up for updates also. Whenever you want, if you need any updates, you can sign up for updates as well. So this is something which is brief. We keep doing some webinars. People who are interested always are welcome to join our webinars, which is more related to product related. You will have a better understanding about our products. So that's it from my end. I would just like to help you out with some quick start guides and other things. I'll show you all those things. This would be my mail ID, and I'll be happy to take up all the questions now, which is there in chat box. So if there is anything that you want to discuss, please drop your questions in the chat box. I'll take it up accordingly. Okay.
Bharat. Yeah, Akshay, I can read it for you.
Yes, sir.
Starting from question answer. I'm
All
reading
right, sir.
here. Yeah,
Yes.
it says the last one. I'm reading backward. How to reduce similarity in a research paper. Also, what is the ideal percentage of similarity in a paper?
Okay, so to reduce similarity, as I showed in the document, first thing you need to see is from where the match is happening. When you identify the match, you will be able to see whether the document is exactly copied or how much percentage is copied. Maybe on the right hand side, when I showed that full text, you will be able to see what exactly is the match. If you read his article, you will be able to find out. Some cases the full text will not open up because you are not subscribed to it, or you might not be able to find out that. So at that time you will be able to go to the parent article and you will be able to read that article, or else you have to purchase that document. If that author is related to yours, either you have copied from him or he is copied from you. You will be able to track down either of it. Looking at that document, you have to rewrite your document or rewrite the sentences, or you may have to take out that area and you need to represent something else if he's more advanced or she is more advanced than you. It all depends on the match. It all depends on the match that is there. And based on that, and also with the filters, how exactly it is, you will be able to reduce. And there is no standard norms that is followed globally. So you need to have something which is based on your universities, based on your institutions, based on the publisher also sometimes. There is some question which I could read when it's can Turnitin detect plagiarism of idea? Not really text to text similarity, and it is literature to literature matching, but we are introducing AI and ML now. Down the lane, you will see drastic change in that. There is a lot of new things that is going to come up slowly. How to deal with similarity index due to the words and common related headings. So see, I'll tell you, this comes up most of the time. Akshay, one word is shown as similarity. Never Turnitin shows one word as similarity, and the vowels will never show as similarity. Let me tell you, we have an algorithm which runs 3 to 5 words, which should be consecutive. Plus, you will have this filter of threshold of 10 words, 14 words also. What does this mean is, from anyone's article, for example, from my article, you can copy up to 14 words. It will not show similarity. But in that 14 words, if you think it is consecutive, that's wrong. 14 words can be in aim, description, and results also. Still, it will show similarity. So you need to have this idea, what is the threshold of words, but Turnitin not so single word as similarity at all. So you have to have that idea behind that. Headings no, less than 1%. Always concentrate on the higher percentage. When I showed that example of Shreyas V, 18% was from Springer in that 25%. So how do I reduce this 18% is my big headache. If I am achieving that, I'll be able to achieve most of the other things. It will be less than 10% anywhere it gets accepted. Okay.
Yeah, Ms.
What are the
Padmaja
pla-
Mishra asked, yeah, sorry. Please go on. Please go on.
Okay, thanks, sir. I'll get this, Vinit, sir. Thank you. What are the plagiarism
Sure.
tools are available? Can we check plagiarism ourselves? Thank you. I think this question is being answered. Okay, so plagiarism tools, freely available tools, you'll not get databases, I'll tell you. There are freely available tools. Why Turnitin is preferred? DRDO uses the same tool. Indian Institute of Sciences uses the same tool. ISRO uses the same Turnitin tool. IITs, NITs, IIMs, JIPMERs, AIMS, all these people use the same tool. The reason behind it is the vast database. They should be checking in the best database so that tomorrow I'll not find any consequences behind it. If I get into any consequences tomorrow, I can be sued in any court. So I will be facing the issues of consequence. So people prefer the best of the best tools. Free tools will cover only open access content, nothing else. So if you want to check individually, I think Authenticate has individual credits, but I prefer institution one because individual ones are quite expensive in Indian market. So if you are able to use the institutional one, most of the institution has it. Please check in your institution. Do not check in another institution. This happens in a lot of times. One of the student goes and checks in some other institution. Their paper gets saved in repository and they'll not be able to delete. If it is paper, that's fine. If it is thesis, how will you get it deleted? Admins will not accept it because it is misuse. So please have this awareness. Only check in your institution. Okay, thank you. Authenticate has free version. No, no, not really. It doesn't have. Can we use Turnitin as single user? Do we have any account for that? Authenticate is single user, but the credit rate is quite expensive there. Does it depend on active server or globe? We have AWS across the globe. We don't have independent servers. We are cloud-based. You can access your tool from your cell phones on any browser except Internet Explorer. You will be able to use it anywhere. 14 words can exclude whole sentence. Whole sentence, no. 14 words is from anyone's document, you can copy up to 14 words. As I explained earlier, 10 words in the sense 9 can be similar, 8 words in the sense 7 can be similar, 14 in the sense 13 can be similar. So that's how. So document title and all gets evaded with this 14 words. That's why UGC introduced that higher word limit and they reduced the percentage of similarity. Affiliations like name, and don't worry about this much. Affiliations name and all. If you go to the similarity percentage match on the right hand side, it will be less than 1.2, 0.3 is what it will be increased. If you remove it also, you will get to know what exactly it is. That doesn't increase your percentage high, but it has to show similarity. That's why it will be reflecting. Use the word limit, then it gets evaded, I guess, most of the cases, until unless the same text is used in somewhere else with the same institution name, same department name and other things. How can I add students to submit one assignment? You can go to student tab in Turnitin here and click on students and add student. And in this assignment settings, you can mention it as only one submission. So they can do only one submission. If you do multiple till the due date, they can be doing multiple submissions. Can we exclude the similarity from citation automatically? Yeah, absolutely. If you exclude bibliographic materials, it gets auto excluded. Please explain correct way of citation while writing documents. Dr. Praveen, it's like a correct way in the sense I can tell you the right citation. There are so many tools which will give you the citation formats. It will develop. There are free tools. Okay, I can name it. If you Google it, you will be able to use best of the best tools which will give you the citation in the right format. Please use that. That will also help you in Turnitin so that it doesn't show similarity. So if check documents for plagiarism, check my document shows similarity index without bibliography. If I include it, grew up to 27. Yeah, of course, because bibliographic content was higher in your document, I guess, Sushma. So kindly cross check. Will this be as a plagiarism unacceptable? See, this you need to check with your subject matter expert. See, some cases what happens is let me give my example. I have written an article. When I exclude, my similarity percentage is 7%, but I include bibliographic materials, it is showing 27%. So that means I have used a lot of bibliographic materials. It might be citations, my content might be on the higher side. Just review it once with your guide. If it is totally okay, it should be fine. If it is something which is mattering of a concern, which might get into plagiarism as per your guide, then you might have to rework on it. We also give caution sign for that. That's why your faculty will be able to identify that also. Like this, a faculty will get a notification also, like when you have excluded bibliographic materials, more than 15% of the text in this document is bibliographic materials. So have an eye about it. Please speak to your guide once. How to reduce the similarity in research paper. Also, what is the ideal percentage of similarity? I think I've answered this, Krishna. There's no ideal similarity percentage, but yeah, to reduce similarity percentage, you may have to work on daily basis. What is matching? Can you rewrite it in a different way? What other concept can you introduce? If it is shown as similarity, what is that other person has published? Read his article, try to understand if it is more advanced. Think on that. It's a process. We are having actually a webinar which will talk about this. If I get any chance later on down the lane, I'll show about that also. So if we change the settings to do not save repository, then there's the paper. It will document itself in your login. After 3 months, if you delete it in your accounts, after 3 months, even it will get deleted from everywhere, from our repository also, Srushti. Cost of Turnitin, no, for personal use, we don't do B2C model. It is all to institutions and academic and research institution. Could you please reflect flag concept? Yeah, Jasprit, it's all about flags which will show replaced characters, hidden characters. So what is hidden character? Some students, just to avoid similarity, they've colored white. So I showed this example for you. Where is this? Here, they will color this in white. Where in the world we have this word called wireless I communication I. So which is colored in white, it will show in flags. Okay, so that is called as flag section. So now it is not visible. When you click on flags, you will be able to identify that. So that is called as flags. Affiliation, I spoke about this. Is there any alternative software for Turnitin? I don't think so, because most of them are using Authenticate or Turnitin. Turnitin is a company. We have multiple software, but the one that I explained you all today is Turnitin Feedback Studio. What are the tools for checking plagiarism? Can we check ourselves? This is the tool to check similarity. You can check yourself unless you have the login to log in and check. Can we have personal subscription? No. How can we remove a document from your database submitted to student repository? As I said, you need to share this paper ID. If you have checked 3 times, give 3 paper IDs. If you have checked once, give 1 paper ID. If you have deleted the document by any chance, ask for retrieval of documents. Once it is retrieved, share all the paper IDs with the admin and you can get it deleted. Is there any student account for Turnitin? Yes, I've spoken about it. I once wrote a paper and submitted to University Turnitin. When I sent the file publication, yes, unable to delete. I don't have it ready. Can you please help me out? Can you please write me an email, Harsh? Let me just cross check which institution it is and I'll be able to help you out accordingly. Is it fine if we cite a document that document says 20%? And if we cite document that document has. Yeah, it's up to you. See, this all depends. That's why I said defined policy is very important. What the defined policy says is whether you will accept the citation if it is more than 20% also. If after excluding citation, it should be below 20% or below 10%. It should be clearly mentioned in the norms. That is where it plays. We cannot decide that. The tool will help you 20% also, 30% also, whatever it is. But it is all depending on your norms where you're trying to publish, whether your institution or it is to anyone else. How should I invite my students to upload reports? I showed that, Ms. Mahananda. So you can go to the students tab here and you can add them, or you can share the class ID and enrollment key, which is this way, class ID, and you will be able to share the enrollment key. They can enroll themselves. Mathematical equation is also calculated. Yes, Suchi, yes, Ms. Suchi, it will show as similarity, mathematical equations, but you go to the similarity percentage, it will be on the lesser side. But if it is showing on the higher side, You can exclude it manually. For example, a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus, everyone will write the same thing. I cannot change it anyway. So that has to be excluded manually. You cannot use quoted materials. Yes, mathematical equations is a challenge for everyone. I agree that. But you can overcome with that, with using the filters. When checking plagiarism in two plagiarism, that you manuscript stored in the first, second software will show 100% similarity. Depends. It is which software it is. It is the same database. That depends on that. Yeah. Dr. Anju, sir, can we scan figure? No, images are not. Thank you so much, Dr. Anju, for bringing this up. Images are not checked for similarity. Graphs are checked with the y-axis and x-axis. Block diagrams are checked if it is not in pictorial representation. If something that is there in JPEG, PNG format, it will not be checked for similarity. How to avoid self-plagiarism? Give citation, I like you give it to others. So for example, my own document, I give citation as if I've given it to you. So that's how I'll be able to evade that. Spoken about this, no free software will help you out. Content should provide plagiarism. Yeah, we will see if we can do that. Can plagiarism software detect mathematical symbols? I spoke about this. How can we be sure work we send is checking is safe? Ms. Jayashree, Turnitin is a 22, 23-year-old organization. We have been in this industry from quite some time. We have one of the best secure things. Till date, we have not. That's why DRDO, like defense, ISRO, some kind of R&D divisions use our tools, because we use one of the best secure servers and other things. So that's how it is. And we can't even see your documents because it is saved in a unique way in the form of this paper IDs, which I showed. That paper IDs only will be able to reveal. If you give me a username also, I cannot see your documents. If you give your email ID, nothing will help me out. That is a unique paper ID. That too I cannot see. Only my support team can be able to delete it. So that's how it is protected. Difference between Turnitin and down the line, there will be no difference. I think it will be taken over. There will be a merger, I guess. So that's why you worry about it. Is it advisable to keep the document in no repository? Of course, most of the cases, yes, Dr. Binaya. If you want to secure your content, this I want to talk about IITs and NITs. I don't know whether your documents are saved in Indian thesis repository like Shodhganga, but if you want to secure your documents, final drafts, when the student is honored with PhD, then you can check it with standard repository, so that anytime the same thesis is used by any Bangalore University, Hyderabad University students, it will show as student paper of NIT, student paper of IIT. So please use this. Please make use of standard repository so that all the IITs and NITs documents are very useful. So you can ensure that also. Till then, till if you're checking the drafts,
No,
keep it as no.
I'm sorry, Akshay.
Yeah, Vinitsa.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Akshay. I could not get that point. If I'm
Yes,
checking one of my student PhD thesis, for first check, I will not include it in the repository. But once this thesis is finalized,
yes,
what step I should take?
sir. Create two classes, sir. For example, thesis, Vinitsa. This is for everyone. First class is no repository class. You check all the drafts in that. Once the student documents or thesis is accepted for publication, or he's honored with PhD, he passes out of the institution or she passes out of the institution. Then come to the class 2, which is named after standard repository. Check the same document in keeping the repository as standard repository. What will this happen is, I'll give you a fair example what's happening in our country, sir. Today, if I take an IIT thesis and if I give it in Hyderabad University or JNTU or Bangalore or Mysore University or Delhi University, it gets accepted. Because some of the IITs and NITs theses are not saved in Shodhganga, nor it is there in any public domain, which will not be crawled because it is honored with you. So I also get PhD for the same thesis. So if you are able to secure your content with standard repository, it will show as student paper of IIT, student paper of NIT. Is it clear, sir? Should I repeat?
Definitely. No, thank you. But it could create some problem in future if we are planning to submit some paper in conference and journals.
Right. If you are going to continue that work and if you're going to put out the content from the previous thesis, at that point of time, you have to get it deleted. you can share the paper ID with the student. Any point of time they can write back to their administrator and get it deleted. That feasibility is there.
But that is a kind of a makeshift solution, because
Absolutely.
I
Or
want my
what if,
thesis also to be, yeah.
yeah,
I
or
want
what
my
you can
thesis
do
to be
is
always there.
you can keep it in any cloud, or if you're in a website and ask us to crawl under that URL, we can get it crawled, sir. That
Right,
can
thank
be
you.
done. Thank you, sir. Some cases I've seen some institutions they started uploading to Shodh Ganga these days. So that's crawled by Turnitin. We identify that also. So I'm going to next question. Vinit sir, please feel free to intervene at any point of time. How does citation reduce plagiarism, even though in this case one is copying from others? Citation doesn't reduce similarity or plagiarism. Citation is like giving a credit. In Turnitin also, when you exclude bibliographic materials, only the citation part gets excluded. The context behind that, from what text I've copied, will always be highlighted. For that, the guide will decide whether it has to be excluded or not, whether it has considered to be plagiarism or not. So Arjun, yeah, thanks for this question. Yes, that is the way it does. It doesn't consider that if you give citation, it is not plagiarism. So if I copy from everyone and I give citation to everyone, my work is not plagiarized. No one can say that. So you should be ethical. First thing that comes in plagiarism is how good are we? Are we giving credits? So I saw that 6 fundamentals that plays a vital role there. If you are taking the same reference paper, it is called plagiarism. No, references are not considered. The text that is related is considered, Ms. Padmacha. So I mean, see, you know that it is referred. References was never considered as plagiarism. The related text is always considered. Do we have any standard percentage, Nageshwar Rao, sir? No, no standard percentage. Like such, it depends on the go to publication recommenders. IEEE has their own publication recommender. Springer, Wiley, they all have their publication recommender. You put your abstract, it will tell you which journal to publish. Like that, you can work on it. Is it fine that we cite the document? I think I addressed this. Do students also need Turnitin login account? Yeah, you can share the document. It all depends on your faculty. If they want you to submit, they can create an account, or they can take and check and they can send you the report also. It's up to you guys. What will be the price range? Let's not discuss about the price right now. Difference between Turnitin, I spoke about it. How to remove previous data from Turnitin, I spoke about this. Is taking the same reference paper is called plagiarism? Yes, it is done. Sir, if there is long names such as place, algorithm name, etc., which cannot be changed, should we ignore such similarity? You can ignore, or else if you check with your reviewer or your guide, can you use quotes there? If you can do that, you can do that also. But it all depends if your guide is okay. Please tell the steps for using Turnitin for instructor. Can you go to the help section, Dr. Amit, and have a look at it? Or we can share some sessions, or you can send me an email. I'll share some recording or user guides with you all. Or Vinit sir, I'll send it to all the user guides to you. You can share it to all the participants who attended this session.
Oh, yes, that will be excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that with some useful links as well. So there is something from some contents are similar to already cited references, how to set Turnitin detects automatically and exclude. So I spoke about this actually. It is only excluding the citation and references part, not the related text. That has to be manually done. Answering Ms. Jayshree's question, I sent a document for plagiarism. It came 12%. I removed the similarities highlighted. Where did this question go? Okay, highlighted and hope that measure will be near 0. But when I did it again, it displayed news. See, when you remove the similarities, in the sense, this happens with some of the cases. I'm not relating to your case. So when I give my report to my student, whatever is highlighted, he will delete and he will send it back to me, thinking that it will reduce. No, the sentence would frame something else, which might have done by someone else. When the new match is identified, it will show. That's how it is reflecting for you also. So if you have rewritten in a different way, most of the cases it doesn't happen. In few cases, see, similarity match will only appear only if the same kind of text is there already appearing in any of the publications, internet, Wikipedia, anything like such. If it is there, even if it is a print book or something like that, or that is archived, which is historical data, only then it will show. If not, it will not show. You don't worry about it. You can trust. Journal recommender for abstract submission. Abstract you can pull out from yours and put for any journal that you want to publish, like any publisher. Go there. There is journal recommender. You can submit your abstract. It will tell you which journal it is and what are the limitations also. The journal editor consider bibliography in the plagiarism, or they don't count it. Depends on the journals. Some journals they do, some journals they don't. But most of the cases, bibliography is not considered. That's one more. Ms. Poonam. All right, thank you so much. Very comprehensive. Thanks for the feedback. I think we have answered most of it then. Please feel free to take these two mail IDs. Amit, if you need any pricing discussions or anything like such, please feel free to write to Amit. If it is anything related to product, please feel free to write to me. This QR code is for sharing your feedback. Always feel free to write an email. This is our support mail ID where deletion request can be sent, TISupport@turnitin.com, but only admin emails are catered, not anyone else. Okay. Thank you so much. Please stay safe. Thank you so much, Vinit sir, for your support and coordination and giving this opportunity. Thank you so much, sir.
I think this should be our turn to thank you, actually, Akshay. You have taken your time and efforts, and you have kindly agreed to be here. I know that there are a lot of participants here, 500, 700. They would have definitely been benefited, and they had opened up their heart for whatever questions they have in their mind. They might have got some resolutions from your presence here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you very
I'll
much.
also share more details with you, sir.
Yeah. If you can share the presentation also along with the guide.
I'll look into it if I can do that, sir.
Yeah,
sure, sir.
Sure.
Thank you,
I
sir.
also
Thank you so much.
it's my turn to thank Amit Pal also, because he has made me linked with you, and he was really sincere enough to just report and just help me out in a 2-3 hours time. Thank you, Amit.
Absolutely.
And thank
Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Akshay and
sir.
Amit.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much, Bharat sir.
Akshay,
And
Dr.
actually,
Bharat Gupta is Chief Investigator at NIT Patna.
Oh, okay. Pleasure meeting you, sir. Pleasure meeting
Pleasure
you.
meeting you, sir.
Actually, sir, they have reduced our work also. Like they have already taken the questions by themselves, and we are just sitting and listening the answers and questions together.
It's our pleasure, sir.
That's really a good gesture from Akshay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Akshay. And we
Bharat.
hope that next time when we remember you, you might still be available that time. Thank you very
Absolutely,
much.
sir. Absolutely.
That
Thanks,
will be
Amit.
appreciated, sir.
Actually,
Thank you
like
so
in
much,
this type of things,
Yes, sir.
this FTPs, people want to know their solutions, because they have a lot of queries while checking the plagiarism, while writing the reports, how to do that, how to do not that, what we have to use, what we don't have to
Right.
use. So all things you have taken care is very precisely. So I hope the students are benefited with that, and they will do the needfuls in
Thank you,
future.
sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bharat, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Amit. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Akshay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Dear participants, I would request you to join 15 minutes before, so that we have enough time given to a speaker and we do not overstep the second speaker. You join please 15 minutes before, and we'll open that portal half an hour before for that purpose. So the portal will be open at 4:30. You please join by 4:45, so that as soon as our esteemed speakers comes in, we do not lose time and we do not let him wait for that part. Thank you. Let us join at 4:45, by 4:45, 4:30 to 4:45. We should